We're going to go through funnels today. That's the main topic for today, is the new funnels feature in TelemetryDeck. So I'm going to give a quick overview and explanation of what a funnel is. And then we're going to have a demo app, and we're going to implement some TelemetryDeck signals, and then see how we can use the funnels feature to analyze the flow of our users through the app. If you have questions, the best place for them is the Q&A tab, but you can also type them into the chat now. And then, as said before, Marina will notify me of the questions, because once I go full screen, then I can't easily see the questions otherwise. Feel free to always ask the questions just right in the middle of me talking. But we're going to have, at the end, we're going to have a dedicated question and answers section. So if you have a question, but it's already like the part is already over that the question relates to, then just hold on to the question and we're going to answer it at the end. Yeah. All right, let's get started. What is a funnel? A funnel in the grandest of terms is a data structure or a way of looking at how users are flowing through an app. For example, let's say your app has a payment screen. And so maybe you go to the settings, and then maybe you open the pay for this app or unlock pro screen, and then you choose a pricing point. And that, if you put that into TelemetryDeck, that would be like 3 distinct signals. And you can then see how many people went to the settings, how many of those people actually clicked on Get Pro or whatever, and how many of those people actually bought something. And that gives you information, especially if you have more than 3 steps. If you have maybe 5 steps or so, it gives you information at which step people stepped out of that process, and where did you lose the people. And so that is the step that you can work on. And I've already seen people using TelemetryDeck for exactly that, where they discovered that, oh, okay, there's a huge drop-off at this step. And when they themselves were sure that, apologies, we're sure that the drop-off would be at an entirely different step. So that's really cool. All right. Today we're not gonna do like the whole, oh yeah, this is how you make yourself a TelemetryDeck account, but just real quickly, I'm gonna mute myself and cough into my arm. Hang on. All right, that's better. Okay, but real quickly, TelemetryDeck is a analytics and usage data platform that is very, very privacy first, and that helps app developers such as yourself, or product managers or marketing managers, to analyze the flow of users and the behavior of users in their mobile app or desktop app or web application, and we'll help them improve the app. And that's really important to us, that all this works perfectly without compromising the user's privacy. We do this with a really cool double hashing algorithm, which we probably should do a talk about as well. So maybe that's going to be the next webinar. Yeah, and we have, of course, many features. You can easily see. Hang on, I'm going to show you. I'm just going to share my screen. And here we go. So let's go to some kind of example app. And I'm in test mode, so you can't see any real data. And for example, without doing anything but actually adding TelemetryDeck to my app, I can immediately see user numbers. I can see system versions. I can see app versions, like how quickly are people updating my app. And I can see user retention, like are people actually staying with the app, or are they leaving? And of course, I can, in fact, analyze the actual features of the app by writing these custom queries, of which funnels are one type, but we also have just regular time series queries like these. We have what we call top N queries, which will give us the top N values for a signal that you're sending. Like, for example, this one does just have This one just has two values, so true and false, but we see the breakdown of all the values that we have, and so on. All right, that is TelemetryDeck. And now I'm going to introduce you to my app that I'm writing right now, that we're going to use as an example app. So I'm writing an app. This is in the grand tradition of WWDC example apps. And I'm writing an app that's called Pizza Maker because I love making pizza. And so what does this app do? It will help you during the pizza making process. It will help you make the dough, and it will help you bake the pizzas. So we're having like a little bit of an onboarding where I can learn about the app and start using it. And then we have, like, if I make pizza dough, I put in the flour and the yeast and the water and stuff like that. And then I have to let it rise for 8 hours. So this app just has a little timer that will count down from 8 hours and then notify me once my dough is ready to continue working on. And of course I can reset that. And we also have a baking timer where I can see like how much time did my pizza spend in the oven. But this is what we did last time. We added signals to those, and then we analyzed how people would use that. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to look at the settings. So on the settings, we have one setting that just allows us to set the units to imperial or metric, or just radians, which doesn't make any sense, but I wanted to add that joke to the app somewhere. And we also have just as a setting item that allows us to reset the onboarding so that people will see the onboarding again. And we have the Get Pro. So right now the Pizza Maker app doesn't actually have any pro features, but I feel like I want to ask for a bit of money to support the development of the app and add more features. So the people who are the super fans can actually get a subscription. So if users click on the Get Pro button, then they can actually choose which version. Apologies. Hi. Okay. They can actually choose which price point they want to work on, and then just click that and then buy it. So that's really easy. I'm going to have a drink. Hang on. All right, that is the Pizza Maker app. Now, we want to add various funnels to that app. To do that, we're going to add TelemetryDeck to the app first. So I'm going to go to the project, and we're going to add a package dependency. Hang on. Sorry. All right, I have a lozenge that should help. Anyway, I want to add a package dependency. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add here the Swift package. All right, and now we have the TelemetryDeck Swift client added to our app. So now next step is we want to initialize it. So to do that, we go to the root struct or app that initializes our whole app. So this is here, for example, and then we just add the initializing code here. Actually, add an init function. And then we need an app ID. So we go to the TelemetryDeck user interface and copy our app ID here. Add it here, and we don't need any modification right now. All right, it says, okay, I don't know what telemetry manager is. So yeah, we need to import that. And it builds. Awesome. Okay. We have now installed TelemetryDeck client into our app. The next thing that we need is we actually need to send signals. So let's send one signal first that just shows us that the app has actually started. So we're going to add that just directly underneath the initialization code. And oh yeah, and in the previous version we also sent a display unit property. We don't really need that right now, so I'm just going to delete it so it's easier. But what we do get is we get a signal that's being sent as soon as someone launches the app. All right, so this has already sent a signal to TelemetryDeck. So if I go over to the TelemetryDeck web interface and I go to resend signals, then hang on, I gotta switch to the correct app. And then what I also need to do is I gotta switch to the test mode, because while we are still working in Xcode, while our app is in debug mode, we will not send any like proper data. Instead, the client is smart enough to detect that it's running in debug mode and actually tags all its signals as test mode. So in the user interface, we will only see those tickets if we actually enable test mode here. But now that I've done so, I should actually see, here we go, the app launch regularly signal. You also see a few other signals. That is because I actually implemented and tested this app before, and I decided to leave it there. So we have some test data to play with, and that is more realistic later. All right, this is cool, but what we really want to do is add a funnel, right? We want to see more than that. But just these I want to say 5 lines of code, they already give us this. So this overview is already enabled by just adding telemetry client, basically, which is really cool, I think. So what we want to do now, though, is we want to have different types of funnels. And the first funnel that I want to show you is also the most important. This is one of the most important metrics that we suggest people track, which is just the overall conversion rate. So of all the people who ever start your app, how many of those actually buy the app or like perform some other action that you designate as the target action? So we already have the number, the people who start the app, because they send a app launch regularly signal. So now what we want to do is we also want to send a second signal that says, oh yeah, this user just has bought Telemetry Pizza Maker Pro. And once that happens, then we want to send a second signal, and then we can just use these two signals to build our first funnel. All right. We are going to purchase view, which is where obviously the purchase, like this is basically this screen. Hang on, let me cancel the subscription. This is the purchase view. And so whenever whenever someone actually clicks on purchase, then I want to, hang on here, I want to send another signal, and I want to call that payment succeeded. Here we go. Right, let's run this. All right, and so let's go to the settings. Let's go to Get Pro, and let's actually buy something. And now we also send the payment succeeded signal. Cool. So now we have all the ingredients that we need for our first funnel, which will show us the conversion rate for our app, which is, as I said, one of the most important metrics. So I'm gonna create a new group to store all the funnels that we want to create. I want to call these raw funnels. And let's create a new insight here. Let's just add an empty funnel. So first of all, I want to give this a name. So I'm going to name it conversion rate. And save. So yeah, okay, it's been saved. Cool. And next we actually have to add a funnel step. This is also what the app tells us. So we need two steps. We need app launched, and then we need actually like the payment has succeeded. So let's add a step called app launched. And what we do is we configure our steps by using the filters feature that TelemetryDeck now has. So every single step of a funnel is a title and also a number of filters or filter conditions that will define every single signal that should be included in this step. So we're gonna just add a filter for the first step and then add a filter for the second step. And because we're just sending a signal type, we're just gonna select the new signal type condition, and then we're gonna select app launch regularly because this is our first step. All right, very cool. This is not helpful at all though. So let's add a second funnel step, and we're gonna call this payment succeeded, and add another signal type condition, and we're going to call this payment succeeded. Here we go. Cool. And now we're going to see that our overall conversion rate of the whole app is 40%, which is actually pretty great. Probably not entirely realistic, but oh well, what can you do? So this is already really cool. And this gives us so much information. This gives us basically an overall rating for the success of our app. And this is so if you only keep like one number in mind, this should be one of those numbers basically, or this is actually a very good candidate for those numbers. So let me just go a bit deeper into like how these funnel steps look, because it's actually very important that you get like a mental model of how they work. So as I said, each of those funnel steps, you can define a filter with as many conditions as you want. And then what happens under the hood is it will gather all the signals that, so for the first step, it will gather all the signals with type app launch regularly. And then it will count the users that have sent these signals. So funnels always count users. Now for the second step, it will find all the signals of type payment succeeded, find all those users, and then do an intersection of the users from the first step. So even this is probably impossible with this example, but even if you have a more complicated example where people, for example, could send just the payment succeeded without the app launch regularly signal, those people would not appear in this funnel, because the second step combines all the conditions of previous steps with its own condition, and so on. So this is also very important. Funnel steps use intersections on groups of users. I'm stressing this so much because we've had a few tickets actually today where people, for example, tried to add one step, the same step 3 times, and kind of expected that, oh yeah, this means that the user has gone to that view, for example, 3 times. And that's not how it works, unfortunately. If you want to do something like that, you should really find, like, do that distinction, make that distinction in your code, and then send a specialized signal like user has seen this view 3 times or whatever. All right, conversion rate is cool, but we want to have a more fine-grained view of how people arrive at the payment screen and use the payment screen. This is just 2 steps. This is not enough. So let's add more signals that we're sending, and then we can create another funnel that with more content. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send view did appear signals every time we open one of those views. So this is the content view. Hang on, content view. This is basically this view. So this is going to send one signal. This is going to send one signal. So settings view. Then the upgrade screen is going to send a signal, and then the purchase succeeded actually already sends a signal, right? Okay.
Daniel,
yeah,
if I can
please
jump in. There's a question for you in the chat.
All right, let me have a look. The app ID in the init was copied from the example app, wasn't it? Just in case this affects the demo, and wasn't done on purpose. It was done to use your already generated data from previous tests. Oh, actually, no. Let me double check that. Good catch. What I want to have is I want the webinar test app. For that, I want to go to setup app, and I want that app ID. It starts with 89F5. So let's go to the Pizza Maker app, and you are absolutely correct. This was the wrong app ID. Good catch. Thank you very much. It still worked because, as I said, I already generated some data, but we also want to see our live data, of course. So thank you very much. All right, I think that answered the question. Cool. So let's go back to what we want to do. We want to add signals that appear when the content view is seen, when the settings view is seen, and when the purchase view is seen. So let's start with a content view. We're going to import the telemetry client, and then just for the topmost view, we're just going to add an onAppear modifier. Here we go. And I'm going to do something different. Like previously, or in the example we just seen, we only worked with signal types, and then we would distinguish the signals by different types. And in this case, I don't want to do that because I want to have just one signal of type view, but then I want to add parameters that give me the view name. And we can totally do that. So this is content view. And then we can do the same thing in settings. Let me, so the root view is this form. So at the bottom of this form, I'm just going to add this snippet. This is called settings. Not very good. Hang on. Like one of those is called view and the other is not. Who wrote this? This is bad code. Here we go. And then on purchase view as well. We already have imported this, but this view stack needs an onAppear modifier that is called purchase view. All right, very cool. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to delete this app from my simulator because basically that will generate a new user for me. And I just want to see a new user. I'm going to skip the onboarding. We haven't added signals for that yet anyway. And instead, I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to go to get pro. But then, you know what? No, I don't want to. I'm not gonna go there. I'm just never gonna go there. I'm one of those users who prefers to use the light version. And in fact, I'm gonna uninstall this thing, and I'm gonna run it again. So now I'm again a completely new user, but I am a user that really wants to support this app because I love pizza, and so I'm actually going to buy the biggest version of the app that I can. And so now what we see is that on the back end, we should have received those TelemetryDeck signals and can now build a more fine-grained funnel with them. So let's do that. We were in the Pro Funnels group, and we're going to create a new insight. And we're going to create an empty funnel again. And this time we're going to name this. How about payment flow? I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so this actually should not have any steps. Okay, no, it doesn't. So that was maybe a remnant from the previous one. But now we want to add steps. So first step should be app launched, I guess. So signal type is app launched. You don't have to start your funnels at app launched, of course, but for us, it makes sense. Second step is probably content view. And here we already see that, remember, we're only sending signals of type view. And the distinction then is in a parameter that we send in the signals payload. So we actually need two filter conditions here. So I'm going to add the first filter condition. We want a signals of type view. That's already pretty cool, but this is not enough. We need to go more fine-grained. So I'm going to actually wrap this condition in an AND condition so that we can add another condition to it. So this is how I build more complicated filters in TelemetryDeck, not only in the funnels editor, but also like in other contexts. All right, so we need something. We need to equate something. We need to equate the view name, I think is what we called it. Yes. And that needs to be content view for the first step. Cool. Okay, so this is our first step complete. And then we're going to add another step that is settings view. Again, we need multiple conditions that need to be true at the same time. So we're going to add all of the conditions must match. Then first of all, we need type view. And second of all, we need view name equals settings. So this is probably, yeah, it's updated. Okay, yeah. So all of the users who actually made it to the content view also visited the settings at least once. So that's kind of cool. Already we learned something. Then the next one, what was it called? Purchase view, right? Purchase view. So add a and condition, type view, and a selector that says the view name should be purchase view. Now this I'm expecting to be lower than the others. Yes, okay, so not everyone who went to the settings actually clicked on purchase view. And then we need our last step, which is purchase completed. We already are sending a signal for that, so we just need to catch that here. It's payment succeeded. All right, I'm going to rename it. Payment succeeded. Cool. All right, and here we have our new funnel. This gives us an overview over how are the different smaller steps from app launch to actual interaction with the app. So this is really cool because I can see that I don't really have to care, in this fictitious example at least, whether people actually find the settings view. Like everyone finds the settings view, that's not the problem. However, not everyone is seeing the purchase view, and only half of the people who actually see the purchase view actually purchase. So Maybe I want to pull up the purchase view and show it to more people, stuff like that. All right. Let's make one last filter. And actually, I want to show you something else. Hang on. I want to show you something else before we make the last funnel, because the third funnel won't give us too much new knowledge about how to make funnels, because you've already grasped the general idea, I hope. But one thing that I want to also give you is that a funnel is, in TelemetryDeck at least, is two things. It's one, the query, which you design using this funnel query editor at the bottom of your screen, but also the chart, which is this very pleasing and aesthetic arrangements of geometry at the top that really gives you like a visual way of interpreting this. But you don't have to display a funnel query as a funnel chart. You also can display it as a table. So I'm going to switch that to table. And now what we see is that, of course, this is a bit more, I want to say, oh, there's a question. I'm going to finish this thought and then I'm going to answer the question. So of course, this is a bit less aesthetically pleasing, but this is very helpful if I want to know exact user numbers, for example. So in the current time period that I'm watching, which is currently 2 months, which is the default, 8 users have launched the app. Of those, 3 have actually bought the app. That's pretty cool. But what I can also do is the regular funnel chart cannot display a granularity, but with the table I can do that. So let's switch the granularity to day, for example. And what we should see is it has switched back to, all right, here we go. What we see is then a breakdown of these launches and payments by day. So that's really cool, because now I can see that, for example, yesterday when I kind of like prototyped this app, 5 people launched this app, of which I was 5, of course, and then 2 of those bought. And then today, 4 people launched the app and only 1 of them bought. So there's actually a lesser conversion rate today than yesterday. So this gives me a way of comparing various like days or time periods to each other using this. These numbers, by the way, are user numbers. All right, I'm going to have a look at the question. Hang on. Here we go. How are users considered in this? If user A opens the settings view 100 times, but the purchase view only once, and user B opens settings once, and the payment once, does this skew the graph? It does not. All the algorithms that we use in the funnels query automatically they only count users. So if you open if a user opens the settings view 100 times, that will count as 1 user. And if another user opens the settings view 1 time, that will also count as one user. So we're using, internally, we're using what is called a theta sketch to count users, which is this really cool data structure that allows us to very accurately find uniqueness in data sets. And we are using that extensively in the funnels, especially because this also gives us a intersection kind of modifier, and we use that to find intersections between the different steps of the funnel, which is what gives us this. All right, I'm going to mark this question as answered. I hope that answers your question. So yes, funnels only consider users. Funnels never consider actual views. All right, cool. Can I mute myself for a second? Any more questions? I had like a third funnel in mind, but we planned 45 minutes for this, and this is already over. And I actually conveyed all the concepts that I wanted to convey. So if anyone has a question, for example, or wants to see something specific again, or wants to dive deeper into some specific topic, then please raise your hand via the Q&A button.
I have a question.
Please.
Recently in Slack, someone asked if insights could be, signals could be grouped. And I was thinking it would be possible with the funnels now. So maybe you can show a little how you could, for example, buy iOS versions and have like that you can see like, okay, everyone that is over iOS version 15 and higher goes further to the next step or whatever, Also,
Right.
that's what I was thinking, yeah.
That is a very good question. And you can do that, but it's probably not possible with the general UI. But what you can do is you could take this payment flow, for example. You could duplicate it, which is a function that is not in this menu yet, but is next up in my list of stuff to write. And then you could add a global filter. So we've only looked at those steps here, and each of those steps contain a separate filter editor. But there's also this thing up here that also says click to create a filter, right? So what I could do is, if I add a filter up here, it applies to all the steps. It basically applies before all the steps are calculated. So if I add a filter here, and if I say, for example, let's add a regex condition that says you wanted to have, like, I don't know, major system version iOS 16 maybe. And then this funnel would only contain data from iOS 16 and not from iOS 17 or iOS 15. Or I could, of course, say, oh, in this funnel, I just want to see 16.2 or whatever. So if you want to have it easy in a clickable editor, you'd have to create two of those. If you want to make it a bit harder for yourself, you can always convert this thing into a custom query, which allows you to actually write the query JSON yourself. And what this thing is like, we have a specific query type called funnel query. It's in our documentation, but we compile that down into what is called a group by query. So once you go down there, you can do all kinds of cool stuff, but it's not in the user interface. All right, Mike, what's the best way to structure your signals for easy experimentation and maintenance? Is there a naming convention or hierarchy that you would recommend so it's easy to create funnels and flexible to change them? But it also provides some structure so the telemetry feels elegant, right? That's an excellent question. And we've seen multiple things. And I'm going to switch back to, I think, Xcode to answer this. So we've seen, I think, like 3 different approaches. The first approach is just the, oh, whatever I want approach. I'm just going to, whenever I feel like I want to do something, I just think, sometimes I use signal types. Sometimes I use the properties of signals, for example, and I just don't care. And because our tools are flexible enough, this should usually work. So you don't have to think about it too much, but it might feel a bit messy. What we also seen people is do it like this. So basically only send a few types of signal type view in this case, because a view has been opened. And then if I have, of course, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but signal type event in case the user actually does something. I don't know. So this is also very helpful because it gives you like this very high level distinction between events and views, which is something that some people find very helpful. For me personally, it's not very helpful. Because views are also kind of events. The event is that something has been navigated to, but it's very important, especially for people who come over from other analytics tools, which distinguish those 2 types more. And another thing that I've seen is people have used dot notation to group those. So they wouldn't, let's say we are in purchase view. So they would do something like this, pizza maker dot settings dot purchase view dot show, maybe. So they would just create a hierarchy by using this dot notation, and that actually feels very elegant to me. And I think for my next actual project, I'm gonna use that because I've seen this just with our customers, and I never even thought of it. But I think that's pretty cool. If you want to be a neat freak about it, you can also add those then to a enum or struct, so you don't have to type in the strings. But I think that goes a bit too far. Excuse me. All right, we're back. I think that goes a bit too far. Like, my recommendation is pick one of those styles. So maybe the dot notation style, that would be my preference, I think. But don't like try to group everything and whatever. I think that's too much. All right, I'm gonna go back to Q&A. Mark, this is done. There's something in the chat. Love the dot notation. Thank you very much. Cool. Awesome. I think we're at the end, but if someone else has a question, we have a few more minutes. Otherwise, I'm just thanking you so much for attending. I'm actually going to stop screen sharing now so you can see me. Again, apologies for the for the quality of my voice. It's a bit frustrating, but I hope you still gained some knowledge, and I hope you still gained a lot of out of this webinar. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, there's a clap emoji that just raised. Yes. Awesome. Oh, that's cute. And another one. Thank you so much. Yeah. Wow. Oh, this is nice. I didn't know that Zoom had this feature, but this is adorable. I love it. Yes. I love it. Cool. All right. Links is the last point in my agenda, and I am struggling to think about what. Yeah, okay. So we have links to the documentation and to the GitHub, and of course to our homepage. But I'm actually not going to paste these into the chat here, but instead, because you all registered for this webinar, we're going to send you exactly one email afterwards with a summary, with any links to our GitHub, to the telemetry client, to our documentation, which is very, very good. And also to TelemetryDeck sign up, and also to the example app that we just saw. Like, this is completely on GitHub. I'm gonna write an email maybe tomorrow and send out everything there. It's going to include also a link to the recording if you want to hear my scratchy voice again. And so, yeah, no need to write anything down right now. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening and or morning, depending on your time zone. And yeah, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.